This is the 3-day, 2-night Ha Giang Loop Motorbike Tour, Day 1. Our group decided to take the Easy Rider tour, so we were introduced to our drivers after the orientation. Then, the tour guide explained the routes we would take, the viewpoints, and where we would sleep at night. So the tour started in Ha Giang City. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out, but it wasn't too hot. We were so excited that we actually really didn't care what the weather was like anyway. As we left Ha Giang, we were greeted by tall, sharp mountains all around us. There were 8 of us in the group, and we were always together throughout the whole tour. This was our first stop, and from here, you can already see how beautiful the scenery was. Our guides also had a rule, so no one was allowed to go ahead of the tour guide, and it was really nice to see how much they respected each other. This was our second stop for the day, and the view here was absolutely stunning. There were also people selling drinks like coffee, so you could grab something to sip while enjoying the scenery. We just kept going, passing by locals and small villages. There were mountains and hills everywhere, big, small, all kinds of shapes. The view was so amazing, it honestly felt like a dream. The view stayed beautiful. You get this feeling of excitement because every turn surprises you. You never know what you'll see next. just took our breath away. We couldn't help but be in awe of how beautiful the place was. The mountains were so green, the sky so blue. It was just so stunning. the villages we passed through had vast green rice fields that were bright, lush, and full of life. The rich greenery and thick vegetation made the whole area look really beautiful and peaceful. definitely one of my favorite parts. It was insanely beautiful, peaceful, and just straight up breathtaking. You really couldn't put it into words. Closer to a popular spot called the Baklam Slope, and it was absolutely stunning. You didn't want to blink or you'd miss even a bit of the whole view. Was one of those spots that really took our breath away. It was high up with sweeping views of rolling hills and jagged mountains, stretching as far as you could see. The air felt fresh and cool, and the whole place had this peaceful, untouched vibe. Even though there were a lot of people there, including locals, we couldn't help but stop and just soak it all in. This was our last stop of the day, and once again we ended with another amazing view. A lot of people stopped here too just to take it all in and enjoy the scenery. Guides and some of the other tourists played duck cow too. It was actually a local game, and it was fun to watch them kicking the shuttlecock around. Giang Motorbike Tour was nothing short of amazing. From winding roads and jaw-dropping viewpoints to peaceful villages and endless rice fields, every part of the journey felt like a scene from a postcard. We laughed, we took a ton of photos, and even joined on a game of duck cow with the guides and a fellow travelers. By the time we reached our last stop, the sun was already setting behind the mountains. But our hearts were full. It was kind of day that makes you grateful just to be out there, living the moment.